Hello, you're tuned into Story Club FM and you're with me, Wanga, bringing you the program Book Club, a program where we discuss books, short stories, anything to do with writing, because you know we fans, anything to do with art, we're happy to be there. So we're continuing the short series that we've been doing on the Caine Prize for African Writing, where I have been speaking to the shortlisted authors. So this week, we are talking to Trifina Yaboa and Bemi Aguda. So do stick around. Do not go anywhere because I had such a brilliant chat. But it's a really good chat, so do stick around before I get right into it. We're going to start with a song called All My Life by Mawilele featuring Questa. I'm obsessed. The song has my whole heart.
Oh na 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 na, yeah. Angithi mina ngikhethe wena, ashumbe, yeah. Yabona abantu abanderstand, yeah. Ukuthi mina nawe siyophelela kufeni. Take my heart, take my soul, I'll die for you, die for you. Yabona abantu abanderstand, yeah. Uthi mina nawe, we were meant for each other, yeah. Wetalibambi isandla sami, hamba nami, siyoqala impilo phesheya. Ngicela ungawali isithando sami, isithando sami, inhliziyo yami ikhethe wena, ikhethe wena. Angithi all my life, all my hours, ngifisa ukumbona nguwe, ngifisa ukumbona nguwe, ngifisa ukumbona nguwe, ngifisa ukumbona nguwe, nguwe. All my life, all my hours, ngifisa ukumbona nguwe, ngifisa ukumbona nguwe.
Bay, nisho bapha abantu obani bona lento engamnawo mangiyibona khululeka sokhuphuka sehle ngeke ukhule wedwa and ukhulu kuseza ya uNkulunkulu mkhulu vele okwethu ukukhuleka kuze kukhuleke size sikhokhobe ngibe umkhulu yeah uzoba ugogoke okay cool let's inhliziyo izozima ithi strupela bazoyithola isagcwele ithi mfi mayishukela usangishupela ngazivukela wangivusela wazivukela wazincukela istuff sakho fact yabona abantu aba-understand,
yeah. Uthi mina nawe, we were meant for each other, yeah. Wetalibambi isandla sami, hamba nami, siyoqala impilo phesheya. Yabona emhlabeni uthando lunjena lutholakali, kodwa ukuthanda wena dala kuyangimistake. Ukuthanda nguwe dala, ukuthanda nguwe kumnandi njenge-milkshake. All my life ngosuku lwami logcine ngifisa ukumbona nguwe, wedala imamela, imizwa yami ithola ukukhanya, inhliziyo yami ithola ikhaya, uyisibani sempilo yami. Ngicela
Welcome back on Story Club FM.
Thank you so much for joining me today. And so the program is called Book Club on Story Club FM. And my program basically looks at books, anything that has to do with writing, short stories. I mean, obviously short stories because of Caine Prize. I'm really, really, really honored that you guys decided to jump into the show with me. So far I've been introducing people, but there's two of you. So I'm going to let you guys introduce yourselves. Tell me a little bit about your stories.
Kemi goes. Kemi, would you like to take the lead on this?
No, you go ahead.
I can start. Should I introduce myself or should I introduce the story?
Both.
Oh, okay. Well, my name is Trifina Yaboa. I'm from Ghana. I've just completed my PhD in English at the University of Nebraska, and so I'm currently working as an English professor. Just one month into the job, so it's really been exciting. My short story that's been shortlisted is what is it called? Oh, The Dishwashing Women. And it is a story about friendship, about class, about race. And it just, I think I was really hoping to capture the sacrifices that female friendships, that female friendship entails, and also, just a sense of trust and all of the emotion side of things. And hopefully I did a good job just letting that come across. So yeah, that's the short story.
I think you definitely did.
Oh, thank you.
My name is Kwemi Aguda. I'm from Lagos, Nigeria. And the story, the short list is breast milk. Breast milk is about, what's breast milk about? It's about a woman who is struggling to produce breast milk after having a first child, a boy. And over the course of the story, we get to understand that it might be because of an infidelity. And the story is about what we pass on to children. It's also about what we inherit from our mothers, and just like the embodied questions we have about who we are versus who we expect to be, who we expected to be.
Okay, thank you both for introducing yourselves and your stories. I absolutely loved reading your stories.
Thank you.
I'm a big reader. I enjoy reading. So any chance I get to read anything, I'm on it. And even better if it's reading from other African writers who happen to be female as well. And it's always nice to see African girls win. So it's amazing.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. And I like your story, the fact that your story also looked at female friendships, because I just got on another show with my friend Eunice, and her and I was talking about how having each other in our lives, having a female friend where you can always count on, there's so much patience that comes with it, so much support that comes with it, and just being able to have that for each other, to push each other, is incredible. And to see it in a story, especially in a space where people are struggling, and the struggle is something that's out of their control. Their circumstances are so bad, but even within that, there's still so much love, so much patience, so much of having each other's backs, that the struggles, they start to feel a little smaller. And the inheritance of what we get from our parents, what we get from the people around us in Damien's stories as well, that we choose who we're going to become, but we can't ignore the fact that the people that came before us have heavily contributed into who that's going to be, how we're going to move forward, and how we relate to certain things. So that was also really an amazing story to read, Bimi, and thank you for putting things like that out there. Thank you for making people in those situations feel seen as well, and for the girls reading it, the people reading it, when you read something, you see yourself in it. You always feel alive. I think storytellers just have a way of bringing life back into people with their stories. And I think both of you did exactly that.
As much as we're enjoying this chat, we're going to take a very, very short break and listen to a song.
and then immediately after that we're going to continue with the chat. So do not go anywhere. Stay listening to Story Club FM, and you're with me, Wanga, for the program Book Club.
How long have I been waiting for you? Aimless until you came into view. All of the skies were vacant. Now it's a constellation that brings me back to you. I didn't even set the alarm. Somehow you snuck through every guard. It's not my heart you've taken. It's everything and every part. You quiet down all the noise when I just hear your voice. Everything seems to turn to silence when I seek asylum in your arms. Your quiet is my favorite of all the noise. When I just hear your voice, everything seems to turn to silence when I seek asylum in your arms. Your quiet is my favorite song. You're playing every beat of my heart, pulling my every string like a heart. Every note you're making is just a proclamation of my love. Where you appear from, I didn't see. But somehow you're here like much needed sleep. You've broken in and taken everything in every part. You quiet down all the noise when I just hear your voice. Everything seems to turn to silence when I seek asylum in your arms. Your quiet is my favorite of all the noise. When I just hear your voice, everything seems to turn to silence when I seek asylum in your arms. Your quiet is my favorite song.
So, aside from my own rants from enjoying the story, because obviously I'm a fan, I'm fangirling, and my opinions of the stories, what was it like? What was the process like of the stories that you wrote? What was the thought process? What were you trying to do? And did the story come out the way you wanted it to?
come out once you were done?
I'm waiting for Pemi to go first.
I'll take it this time.
Yay.
So many years ago, I think maybe in 2017 or 18, I attended this lecture by this anthropologist, Ruth Behar, at the University of Michigan, and she was talking about her travels and what she learned from her travels. And one of the stories she told was about visiting a small village where she met a woman who said that all her 5 babies had died because there was too much rage in her breast milk. And that image just kind of stuck with me. The idea that an emotion could be felt so strongly, so physically, that it would like harm a child. And so that was the first thing that I held on to. Around then, I think on Nigerian Twitter, there were a lot of conversations about like men being scum. There was a lot, we're talking a lot about just like what Nigerian feminism looked like. And obviously it was coming from people who were my age, but then I wondered what would the situation look like where it was the mother who was like staunchly feminist in values and the daughter was kind of struggling to walk in her mother's footsteps, but wasn't matching up to that. All of these things came together, I think, in the story Breast Milk. I think the first version of the story maybe had more like a higher tenor of speculative, like speculative fiction. And then over time that came down to, well, not down, but it shifted to, and yeah, I shared it with some people. I wrote it over and over and over again. I think one of the things I struggled with when writing the story was whether or not to just say how much to say and how much to imply, how much to say, how much to show. And that was the major challenge I had with the story, just shifting the dial back and forth. And yeah, eventually I think I'm very happy with where it ended up.
I'm glad. I'm happy with you. And I just read it.
Amy, I didn't know that story. Thank you so much for sharing. My goodness, the whole breast milk thing. Wow. And Wanga, you're talking about fangirling earlier, and I was fangirling before this interview started. I was just going on and on about how much I've enjoyed Pemi's work. So you're not alone in the fangirling business. You're asking about how this started, and really, I think one of the key things that I was having a chat. I was just texting one of my friends, Sandra City, and I think we're wrapping up our conversation, and I don't know who said it, but one of us had said we're going to watch. She said she's got dishes in the sink that she has to go wash. And then I said, oh, we have the dishwashing women. And then my next message was, oh, that's a good title. That's a good title of a story. And so this is one of the few stories that I've started to write that had a title. Usually I struggle with titles. The titles come at the end, like at the very last phase. And so I started the story with a title in mind. I had no idea what I wanted to work on, and besides just the fact that I wanted to write about women washing dishes, so just like women who are working. And so in that process of writing, I started to use material from a conversation that my mother-in-law had shared with me. She worked as a nanny for diplomats in Ghana, and we just have conversations about how over time she was taking on extra tasks, like when she was in nannying, she was like cooking and cleaning. And I remember not thinking so much of it. We just talked about how, man, I wish that she could have been paid more for what she was doing. And then she just wasn't paid more. And we kind of said, man, that's, that really sucks. And then it ended there. We didn't really have like a conversation of, oh, you should ask for more money. But somehow, it just like Bemi has shared right now with like, you get all of these materials, you don't think that it's going to reflect in your work sometimes, and then it ends up finding its way and just bleeding into that work. And so I think along the line that became such a big part of the story, which is what would it take, for women who are very much aware that they are being treated unfairly. There's a sense of that they are not having the fairness, they're not having the justice that they deserve, and what would they do to be sure that they're seen, to be sure that that need is met. So I think that's what the story ended up looking like in the end. One of the big changes that happened was with the young character Adoma. the very first copy, you know, when the two women find out that she's trying to cause a lot of troubles and she's going to affect their plans, and they kick her out. They essentially just something happens and she has to leave the house. There wasn't a lot of resistance from her. And then my editor narrative, Tom Jenks, says, well, for this whole story, you've been creating Adoma as somebody who is rebellious, somebody who is outspoken, somebody who would get her will, who would do whatever it takes. And so why do we suddenly have this scene where Adoma just complies, you know, very easily? And so that was one of the big shifts that happened, was to be consistent with Adoma's character. And I'm saying, if this is somebody who is rebellious, if this is somebody who is, you know, fierce and feisty, then in every moment of the story, we want to be able to see that character, that trait of her revealed. And so that was one of the big changes, to make Adoma stand up for herself and fight, and not make it too easy for her to get out of the picture. But yeah, I don't have as many versions as Femi did. That was one of the big changes, and then I sent it over. So yeah.
Nice. I enjoyed that story. It was a brilliant story, both of them. Like I keep saying, fangirling right now. Every time people write, and then they write from the perspective of African women and the sacrifices that are made, the little nuances that are usually ignored, like something like breast milk, you know, the blame that a mother has to take on because she can't breastfeed, and it's not, there's nothing you can do about it. Sometimes the body just doesn't work, and it's not her fault. You can't force the body to work a certain way, but there's so much stigma that goes with it. You're not trying hard enough, you're not doing the right things. And then the constant sacrifice of self for success as well, like the dishwasher woman. You know, the underlying themes outside of the work, that there is so much that is put into just being a woman, so much work, so much pressure, so much expectation, that aside from everything that happens on the surface, it takes so much work, and that work is not always acknowledged. And it's beautiful to see it being acknowledged in stories, to see African stories being told, where somebody else can read it and see that all this, even the person that's going through the struggle can read it and see themselves and know that it's not something they're going through alone. There's different people going through the same thing. But the theme, I also wanted to talk about the theme of the girls in the dishwashing woman giving themselves to the diplomatic man, that being part of their chase of success. It happens often, but people something we avoid, because if we talk about it, we have to admit that the odds are unfair, and that means we have to actually change the system and give young women chances to succeed. But most societies don't want to make that sacrifice, so just sweep it under the rug. All those girls are doing too much. And the way you brought it up without actually saying it directly, like this is what the girls did, was just brilliant. The whole story, brilliant. I'm gonna say that. Just get used to it. I'm gonna say that a lot, where I'm just mind blown, because I would read and then just stop and be like, wow. So there's going to be a lot of that. But
Okay, thank you.
what was that your way of bringing it? Did that just happen by coincidence, or was it something that you've always wanted to like shed a light on?
Not really. Sometimes I wish I could just lie and be like, yeah, I was really intentional. I was really intentional in, you know, writing something about female empowerment. And I was like, no, not really. I think usually what I'm interested in, you know how very often we can be like, oh, I would never do that. Like that could never be me. And I'm very interested in pushing against that. It's like, how can we fail to be? Like, how can we fail to be as honest? How can we fail to be morally driven people? How can we fail all of these pedestals and these standards that we set for ourselves? And so I think having Helen or having Adoma, you know, go through these measures, go through all of this, be able to get something that I want, is also me just grappling with the question of how far can we go to get something that we want? And sometimes it's even in ways that we never thought we would ever do. You're like, oh no, I mean, I would use the right path to do this. I would check all the right boxes. There's absolutely no way somebody can have me do this. And yet I think sometimes you want something so badly and so desperately that you don't realize how far you would go. And so I think that's really what I'm grappling with, the question of stakes and motive, and how deeply flawed, deeply imperfect, deeply cruel we can be. And I don't think that we are very often quick to admit, how often we fail and how often we're not this perfect, holy, two goody shoes. So I really wanted to explore that. But I'm glad that the female empowerment narrative comes across. I'm really happy, because I think sometimes I set up with a very small intention, and then thankfully the reader is able to draw all of these conclusions. That's probably one of the beauties of storytelling, and I'm grateful that I set up with one thing, and yet it's been able to open up the world of possibilities for the reader. So I would take that. I would gladly take that credit. Thank you.
Yeah. And Femi, I had other questions, but after you introduced yourself, now I'm like, wait, no, let's backtrack to the things that you said. Now, you mentioned the anthropology lecture, I think, that you went to, and they mentioned the rage in the breast milk and things like that. Was that did you look at it from the scientific perspective after the anthropology lecture, or did you try to then write something based off just everyday human experience? Because as much as I know human experience is also scientific, but in most cases we tend to separate the two, where we just look at sciences from one lens, but it's part of our everyday life. And the way you told it in the story made it feel like it's part of our everyday life. But then now that you mentioned the anthropology lecture as well, kind of gives it a whole different layer as well, to say it's just everyday life, but there's a lot more to it. So which direction did you go with it from when you started out with the writing?
I don't know if I ever exactly thought of it as scientific. You'll see that even in the story there's a character, I think she's minor now, she was less minor in past drafts, but the woman who is apparently supposed to be able to smell emotions, who is a professor friend of the protagonist's mother. So that is not a real thing, at least not yet. But I was clearly not interested in realism in that way. It's more interested in the logic that this narrator was trying to tell herself, and the logic she was telling herself was that she was the reason why, because of things that she either hadn't processed or was withholding, that was why her breast milk wasn't flowing, and that even if it did flow, then all these unworked emotions would then be transferred to the child. I think that there are actually scientific research about how the state of a mother can influence breast milk, nutrients, and what the mother is exposed to into the breast milk. But I didn't want to belabor the scientific parts. I was more interested in just the logic of this person, whether it was flawed or not. It was still her logic.
Oh my gosh, can I say something? Look at me raising my hand like this is maybe I'm so glad you said that. And maybe I think now I want to assign this story to my students, because we've been talking about how characters perceive themselves and how that can very much influence, even if it's a lie to everybody else, because of how they believe that they are, this is the story they keep telling themselves, and they believe it so much that it's going to influence everything about their lives. And so thank you for saying that, because now I'm thinking that's the story that I want students to read. Because very often I think we project the perception of the world on them. This is who we say they are, but it's who do they say they are? And how does that just completely change the direction of their lives? That's beautiful. Sorry, this is me thinking out loud. Thank you.
Yeah, it works.
Wow.
I was teaching a class on Sunday, and one of the things we're talking about character, and one of the things we talked about how there's just a huge difference not usually, but sometimes there's a huge gap between how people perceive themselves and how the world perceives them. And once you figure out what that gap is, then it can be an interesting place to actually work like fiction in.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. That's very well said. Thank you. Wanga, please carry on. Ignore me.
No, I absolutely love that. I was going to ask if you both read other stories. So I was about to just throw a question like that. So that was
I've read a different story by Caine, but not the shortlisted story.
Also, like narrative wouldn't let me read the whole thing, so I only read like the opening part.
I know they have the whole sign up thing. You have to. I'm sorry about that. The narrative, you have to have an account. Yes, that's right. Yeah, but now we have homework. We have homework. One that we will do that. We will do our due diligence.
Please, you will enjoy it. You can take my word for it. You will definitely enjoy it. Do you both work in the academic field? I know, Trifina, you said you do. Femi,
Yes,
do you
I
also
do.
work?
No, I am affiliated with no institutions currently.
Oh, the freedom in that.
I don't know.
I am on my own.
There are pros and cons, right? I think there's a nice stability when you're affiliated with an institution, but I'm maybe delaying it. We'll see what happens. But right now, no. When I teach, it's with like independent literary organizations.
We're going to take a very, very short break and listen to a song. And then immediately after that, we're going to continue with the chat. So do not go anywhere. Stay listening to Story Club FM. And you're with me, Wanga, for the program Book Club.
I drown as you float in the ocean. That the
I like that you both teach them. That's to actually be able to share the knowledge of writing and give people a chance to get better as well. It's nice. I write. So every time I meet people that write and are willing to share their process so you can understand and actually get better with your own writing, I always find it I think it's just an incredible opportunity to find people that can write and are willing to share that knowledge with other people.
I will admit that I think it wasn't always like an easy path. I think, again, I'm an international student in America, so it's like the most practical route to take. But there's always been this anxiety, and even now I feel it, where it's like the thing that you love the most, if you turn it into a job, then there is that complexity of there's the joy of that. Do you lose the joy? Does it get exhausting? And so I have been having conversations with my colleagues about how do I continue to love writing? How do I continue to find time to write? Because academia, oh my goodness, I mean, you have no time. You're just grading and teaching and grading and teaching. And so those are things that I'm still navigating. And I do love teaching. I enjoy it. I enjoy engaging with students and reading their work and listening to their stories. But I think sometimes you can fall into that trap of just you're pouring out consistently. And then it's like, well, what about my own work? What about my own writing? I don't think I have the answers to that. But just to say that it can be a bit more complicated, a bit more challenging to be an academician, to be a writer. It's got its rewards, because I guess one of the good things is also that you're constantly surrounded by it. You're surrounded by writers, you're surrounded by stories, you're surrounded by people who understand what it means to juggle those two things, but also just
Okay, and what about you, Ben?
What about me? What's the question?
She spoke about maintaining the joy, doing what you love, and then doing what you love as work, but still maintaining actually loving it and it not just becoming work.
That's a. I think when I even got here for the MFA, for the first time, I thought I have mostly considered myself like an intuitive writer. So I didn't necessarily know why I was doing what I was doing. I was just doing it, and sometimes it worked and sometimes it didn't work. And so I was afraid that coming into the MFA, where people, even like my first semester, I was so confused. I'd come from a very different career. I used to work in architecture, and then suddenly everybody was talking about like torque, and I was like, what do these words mean? And I was truly afraid that that the more I knew, then writing would be less mystified, and then change my attitude towards writing. And I have to confess that it was a ride, in the sense that sometimes it felt like knowledge was hampering my writing, but then that passed, and then I think I've got into a sweet spot where it's nice to be able to articulate why I like something and why I think something is working, which comes up with teaching. A lot of times I can separate like my teaching brain with my writing brain, because sometimes some of the things I say when I'm teaching, I'm like, you don't use this when you're working, and you should. But there's a way that you're like so inside your own work, you can't. I can't anyway approach it as a teacher. So in some ways, it feels like two different brains. Do you
I
feel
like that.
Trifina?
Oh, I mean, well, that was very complexly said, so I think I'm still processing that. But I can relate. I can relate to coming from I didn't even know your background was architecture. That's amazing. My background is journalism and communication, and so I think very often, and like writing has been a part of my life, in the sense that I've been journaling since I could write, just because I've been a very timid child and I can't talk out loud, and so I'll just write in my journal. And even now I do that. But writing creatively, that happened later on in the process. And so like that was a learning curve for me. And sometimes even now, when I can confess that I really wasn't reading as much until like my MFA. That's when I was like, I would hear all these big names, and I'm like, I have no idea who these writers are. And in some ways, I felt like a fraud because like you're in a writing program, you should know all these big names. I didn't know Nadine Godimer, Doris Lessing, like until I started my MFA, and I felt so late to the game. So I guess I do feel seen with you talking about coming from a completely different field. I guess I was curious about the challenges in that. Like you probably already touched on that. And you talked about confidence and, you know, being able to understand why you're doing certain things. How was that? How did you arrive at that point? Because I'm still trying to navigate that, you know, where you're not questioning your craft or questioning why you're approaching things in a certain way or just following blindly too. I'm very curious about that.
I question every day. Questioning, I don't think the questioning will ever end. But I think I got to a point where I was able to understand that knowing more didn't have to be the end of like the mystery and the writing, which is why I said sometimes it feels like two different brains. So when I'm inside my work, I'm writing I don't feel like a teacher. I don't feel like I know anything.
Oh yeah.
You know, all of that might maybe sometimes kick in when I'm doing revisions later down the line when there's some kind of temporal distance from the work. Yeah.
Oh, now that you've said it this way, I get it. Yeah, me too. I don't think I have like my craft cap on when I'm writing. when I'm writing, I'm just writing. But when I'm reading other people's work, then you're thinking techniques, you're thinking skill. But yeah, I think I'm much like you in that regard. I'm not thinking too much about techniques or skill. It's just the story. You just want to get the story out, and then in revision you can start asking, is this effective? You know, is this character fully revealed and developed? Yeah, I think we are very similar in that way. I mean, yes, for sure.
I'm loving the conversation. I'm loving the
exchange. You're in the driver's seat, yeah. Sorry.
I'm really enjoying it. This is how it should go. Like the just so insightful, and I think it maintains. That's what maintains the magic, right? To be able to write from the perspective of not a teacher, but just a writer sharing a story and telling the story the way you feel it should be told. That you don't do too much with the techniques, and then you tend to just take away from the story if there's too much focus on technique, too much focus on everything else instead of the actual story itself. So yeah, I love my job. I read for work. I get to just read and review stuff. I love reading in general, and I remember I once said to my friend that if be careful what you pray for, because you might just get it. Because there was a week where I just so much, and I used to say I can't wait to read and get paid for it, and then I had to read so much. I was like, this might have been a bit of a bad idea. But
now I'm curious, Wanga, aside the Caine Prize list, what's been perhaps the most compelling read you've read this year? This is me asking selfishly for book recommendations.
This year there is a book, First Woman by her surname is Makumbi. I don't know. She's a
Jennifer? Jennifer?
Yeah.
Oh, is that a new book?
I don't know.
Okay.
No, it's not new. But it's one of the best books I've read this year so far. And every year I reread Americana by Chimamanda. And I've read it every year since I was 16 years old. And I'm turning 25 this year, so that's a lot. And every year I find something new. Every single year. I will always recommend that book. Such an amazing book.
That's really cool.
So far, that's it. And
thank you. I appreciate that.
You should check out Who Fears Death as well. I forgot who wrote it, but that's also a good book.
Okay. I don't think I can spell. Can you spell the? Look at us. Is this being recorded? I'm so sorry.
Yeah, I think that's okay. Nadia Okorafor.
Yes.
Oh, okay. All right.
I should get book recommendations from you guys as well. So after I'm done with the Caine Prize list, my next books. What books do you recommend?
Maybe you should go fast.
It's always so hard. I'm currently reading Song of Solomon by Toni Morrison, and I already recommended it.
Okay.
That's good. That's good. I think I have that. I probably Uche has talked a lot about the School for Good Mothers. So I am recommending what is on my TBR for you. Yeah, it's really good. So if it's not, we can blame Uche. But I've heard really good things about this, and I plan to read it next. So that's a good one. Yeah, I hear.
Adding those to my list. And speaking of books to add to my list, where can people find your work?
Most of my short stories have been published on Narrative Magazine. I don't have a book like the very prestigious Femi, but I have my stuff online. It's if you look at my website and on the publications, you'd find a few listed stories on there where you'll be able to read online for free. Yeah.
Awesome. And Femi?
So my collection Ghost Roads came out in May and June. So there are 12 stories there, but on my website there are also links to individual stories. So you can read some of the stories in the book without buying it yet.
Great. But I will highly encourage people to please buy the book. It's a masterpiece. I'm a big fan.
Support books.
Yes.
And yeah, so I will definitely be reading your work. So don't be surprised if you see my email, I come back, I just read your book, and I just read this, I just read that. If I invite you back onto my show, if I have the time, do come back, because I'm definitely going to read more of your work. I'm very excited. I've loved what I've read so far. Absolutely enjoyed it. And yeah, but unfortunately, I see the time, so we're going to have to go. One last question. So your social media platforms where people can find you, names of your websites so people can, all my listeners, I am putting such a huge burden on all of them. You better go there, read the books, follow them on Instagram. I will be asking weekly. And yeah, so for where they can, the names of your websites, they can find your work and your social media platforms. And also, one song that you would recommend I listen to.
Oh gosh, this is where I reveal all my inadequacies. I'm not very good with songs. But for it's my social media, it's my name, it's Trifina Yoboa, on Instagram, Twitter, and my website is also my name, trifinayoboa.com. I have to come back on the song because I don't want to say anything that people are going to go, she listens to that song. So I'll have to maybe go.
What?
I'm a big Taylor Swift. I like Taylor Swift. See, that sounds silly.
No, it doesn't.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't. I like a lot of
Taylor Swift. I like Adele. You know, like the yeah. Sorry, I have just exposed who I am, but. Okay, we go now.
It's both a layer of who you are. That is not who you are.
That is, you know what? Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
My website is pemiakuda.com, and I'm on Twitter as pemiakuda. And a song that I've been enjoying recently is Mano Mano by Theesuka, Theesuka. So it's a dance song, you know.
See, that's more fun.
Right, you know, if I'll pick a Taylor Swift song for you. One of my favorite Taylor Swift songs is Lover. It's a really good song.
That's a good song. Yes. I would rock to that any day. Thank you. See, now I don't feel too bad. Thank you. We don't have a lot of people cheering the Swifties on it, so it's nice to find somebody else.
I got you. I'm a fan as well.
That's lovely.
Thank you so much for making the time to hop onto my show. I really appreciate it. And I feel so inspired, very inspired, and looking forward to reading so much more of your work. All the books that are coming up after this, looking forward to reading them. And yeah, have a great, is it evening on your side or morning?
It's afternoon here.
Okay, have a great afternoon. It's nighttime on my side.
Thank you. Oh dear. Well, Wenga, thank you. This has been really lovely. Thanks for your insights and just your excitement about writing and storytelling. It's been lovely just to talk with you. And you gave me a chance to get to talk to Pemi and see her for the first time. So this is nice. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you so much, and good luck with your writing. I'm looking forward to your own stories. Yeah.
Thank
Art is unapologetic.
Art is relentless.
Art stabs like a dagger.
Cuts like a sharp knife.
And captures the heart.
Story Club FM.
The culture is art.
We could leave the Christmas lights up till January. This is our place, we make the rules. And there's a dazzling haze, a mysterious way about you, dear. Have I known you 20 seconds or 20 years? Can I go where you go? Can we always be this close forever and ever? And take me out and take me home. You're my lover. We could let our friends crash in the living room. This is our place, we make the call. And I'm highly suspicious that everyone who sees you wants you. I've loved you 3 summers now, honey, but I want 'em all. Can I go where you go? Can we always be this close forever and ever? And take me out and take me home forever and ever. You're my lover. Ladies and gentlemen, will you please stand? With every guitar string scar on my hand, I take this magnetic force of a man to be my lover. My heart's been borrowed and yours has been blue. All's well that ends well to end up with you. Swear to be over dramatic and true to my lover. And you'll say all your dirtiest jokes for me. And at every table, I'll save you a seat. Lover, can I go where you go? Can we always be this close forever and ever? Take me out and take me home forever and ever. You're my oh, you're lover.
I call you when I need you, my heart's on fire. You come to me wild and wide. You come to me, give me everything I need. Give me a lifetime of promises and a world of dreams. You speak the language of love like you know what it means. And I can't be wrong. Take my heart and make it strong. You're simply the best, better than all the rest, better than anyone I've ever met. And I'm stuck on your heart, hang on every word you say, tear us apart. Baby, I would rather be dead. In your heart I see the start of every night and every day. In your eyes I get lost, I get washed away. Just as long as I'm here in your arms, I can be in no better place. You're simply the best, better than all the rest, better than anyone I've ever met. And I'm stuck on your heart, I hang on every word you say, tear us apart. Baby, I would rather be dead. Each time you leave me, I start losing control, like you're walking away with my heart and my soul. I can feel you, baby, even when I'm alone. Baby, don't let go, 'cause you're simply the best. You're better than all the rest. You're better than anyone I've ever met. And I'm stuck on your heart, hang on every word you say, tear us apart. Baby, I would rather be dead. Oh, you're the best. This one's for you. Mamanya suma disegela inentimazi. Ndikakuona chimwemwe kutsata ntsaya ndampezari. Mtima wanga ukulilila kala wa iwe. Ndipase mtima wako ukale wa ine. Ine ndiko go 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 da como la ntima wako. Ine ndiko go 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 da como la ntima wako. Ine ndiko go 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 da como la ntima wako. Ndikode kode chonde chonde ine go 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 da como la ntima wako. Willing to give you all my time. I put that on my life. You leaving rent-free on my mind. Can't seem to get you out my mind. Do you remember that you lied? When I held you in my arms, you made me feel like I could cry, like I could look you in your eyes. Tumazi kundikwira ndiwe wangani. Oh, imazifunsa funsa umandigondera chive. Mtima wanga Uwasanka iwe kale wanga mpaka likafike tima wanga Uwasanka iwe kale wanga mpaka inendi go como lantima wako inendi go como lantima wako willing to give you all my time I put that on my life you living rent free on my mind can't seem to get you out my mind do you remember last July when I held you in my arms you made me feel like I could cry like I could look you in your eyes